Hi and welcome to Let's Start Playing. My name is Henry and today I'm going to be teaching you how to play Age of Civilization. Age of Civilization is a game for 2 to 4 players. In this game, players will be raising civilizations throughout the game. The player who can raise their civilizations the best and earn the most victory points will be the winner. Victory points in this game are tracked as you played, and any icons showing these green stars will grant you victory points when they are activated or you fulfilled their criteria. To start a game of Age of Civilization, you will need to rise a civilization. You will need to pick one of these 5 factions to rise. Let's go over some of the iconography on these Rise a Civilization cards. So if we look at Vietnam, we can see that if we choose the Vietnam card, we'll get access to free workers in the next phase of the game. The max number of workers you can have is 4. If I pick Vietnam, I will have a permanent bonus as displayed on the bottom of this card in the grey area. This will be ongoing for the rest of the game. And this bonus here is that I can use the farm actions throughout the whole game if I pick the Vietnam card. When Vietnam is my main faction, I'll get also access to this middle ability. And it will become my main faction as soon as I pick it in the first round. And it will only not be my main faction if I replace this card with a new main faction later on in the game. This card lets me use the fish ability and the build ability whenever I want. And often these abilities are blocked out during certain rounds of the game, which I'll go into soon. All the other cards work in a similar way, with granting you a number of workers once you pick them, a main ability in the middle, and a permanent ability at the bottom, which you'll gain throughout the entire game. To start my turn, I'm going to pick Harappa as my civilization, granting me 4 workers, giving me this main ability, Research, -1 cost for writing, sailing, and mining researchers, which are these 3 along the bottom of your research board here. And if I perform the culture action, it costs -1, not by education. And what not by education means is if you research education, you get to do the culture action for free every turn. It does not give you a discount when you perform the education action via that technology at the end of your turn. Now that I've chosen a civilization, all the other civilizations I didn't pick get 1 coin placed on them. And this is additional incentive for my opponents to pick those civilizations. Also, a new civilization is placed out to replace the one I just picked. Now I get to perform actions with all my workers. As this faction granted me 4 workers, I would get to perform 4 actions in this first phase. How actions work is quite interesting. Throughout the game, there is this top board along the top here. And these 3 actions on this top board can be taken throughout the entire game. Along the bottom of the board here are 8 randomly placed cards, and these cards will determine which actions are available throughout the game. In the first round, these 6 actions are available to us. And as the game progresses, after every player takes a turn, this top board progresses 1 space to the right, and only the actions that these 3 actions are on top of are available. So after the first round, Farm will no longer be able to be used by any of the players, but Conquest will become available to all players to use. And this tracks the game as well. As this board moves along the top here, once it reaches the end and players have a chance to do the build action, at the end of that round, the game will end and we see who has the most victory points at that stage. There are a total of 6 rounds in Age of Civilization. Let's go over some of the actions available. First action I'll go over is Wonder. Here, if I build a wonder, I get to gain 3 victory points immediately. I get to pick one of the wonders to build for my empire. However, it will cost me 7 money, which I don't have at the moment. I've only got 3. And I'll need to sacrifice the worker that I place here, meaning I won't get it back at the end of the round. You can gain and lose workers throughout the game. However, if you lose workers, the main way you're going to get them back is to raise or annex a new civilization from the board in a future turn. You can also pass on your turn if you can't place any workers or do not wish to. And if you pass, or rest, as it's called here, you will gain 1 worker up to a max of 4 and 2 coins. Back to this wonder action. So when it says gain a wonder, I get to pick one of these wonders to build for my empire. These will grant you a number of different effects. Looking over here, the Parthenon at game's end, if this is your only wonder you have, you'll gain 2 victory points. So it does 1 ability right at the end of the game. Some wonders, like the Machu Picchu, whenever you perform the build action, you gain 1 additional victory point. And the build action is here. It normally gives you 2 victory points. I have this built, it would give me 3 instead. Some have an effect of when you gain them. So this says when I gain it, if I have no research, which is this blue icon, I immediately gain 2 victory points. I'll leave you to find out the remainder of these, but these are randomly distributed at the start of the game. And once players have built these wonders, no new wonders are put out to replace them. Next action we can do is research, and doing a research gains you 1 victory point. It will also let you pick a technology to pick research on your board here, and it will cost you 4 money in order to do this action. When you take the research action, you can only research the bottom line until you've obtained at least one of these. So in the first turn, I could gain writing, sailing, or mining. If I was to gain writing, I would then be able to get education. And if I had education, I would then be able to follow these arrows and either get science or engineering. If I research mathematics, I can gain gunpowder, engineering, or science as my next research if I wish. And I can go up all of these paths if I want to. You can see my faction gets a discount in doing the research action. So I get a -1 cost if I research one of these bottom technologies. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to be able to pick one of these, spending all 3 of my money. And I'm going to build sailing as my available technology. When I research technology, I place my cube on it and get the ongoing effects. What sailing does is it grants me 1 shield. And shields are important for when wars happen. And wars happen every time the action board at the top here progresses over an action with a sword on it. So all the wars in this game are going to happen on the 2nd and 3rd turn. After the 3rd turn, there'll be no more wars for the rest of the game. What happens at a war is players compare all the shields, and the player or players with the lowest amount of shields will all lose 1 worker from their civilization. The next action we have here is exploit. If you perform this action, you gain 2 money, and you will lose the worker at the end of the round. We have farm here, which will gain us 3 money, but farming takes 2 workers in order to perform. Next we have hunt. Hunt will give you 1 coin, and if you have no technologies researched, you'll gain 1 victory point when you perform this action. And we also have trade, and trade gives you 2 coins and gives all the other players 1 coin. The actions not available to us yet are conquest, which if you place a worker here, you have to sacrifice it, anything with a red. And if you have the most shields when you perform this action, you gain 2 stars. Fishing simply gains you 1 coin. Culture gives you 2 victory points and costs 4 money. Plague's just a non-available action. And build costs 2 workers and you get to gain 2 victory points, costing you 2 money. Let's fill out the rest of my actions. I'm going to trade. I'm going to exploit. And I'm going to gain another research. Now I'll gain mining in order to give me 2 more shields and have a strong military for the upcoming 2 wars. Now that I've performed all of my action, any workers on the red spots have been removed from my civilization, and I've retrieved all my other workers back to my civilization. Play has advanced to the next player, who will now have to pick one of the civilizations to raise, and pick actions just as I did then. You can see that I've earned 2 victory points during the game so far. I will now speed ahead to the beginning of my next turn so I can explain what happens when you get to the raised civilization phase in the next 5 rounds. From the start of your second turn, you'll get the new option, may either rise or annex a civilization. If I choose to rise a new civilization, I'll get to pick a civilization just as I did at the start, gaining the gold on the card, resetting my worker count to the amount of workers listed here, and getting access to the main abilities of this new civilization. This new civilization, however, will cover the main ability on my previous civilization, covering the entire card other than this bottom strip. If I instead choose to annex a civilization, I get to gain the gold on the card, and instead of putting it on top of my card here, I slide it underneath the card, keeping my current main ability and only gaining the permanent ability of the civilization that I annexed. Also, by annexing a civilization, you get to add 1 worker. If you raise or annex Again, replace the card with a new civilization and place 1 coin on all the civilizations that weren't chosen this round. You may, however, want to skip this phase, and if you skip this phase, you won't get to choose any of these cards and no gold will go out on any of these cards. The reason why you may want to skip is that you can only have a total of 3 civilizations throughout the entire game. So you need to manage your workers accordingly, and rising a new civilization or annexing a civilization is a great way of gaining additional workers throughout the game. Also, one more thing to be aware of is if you see these circle actions on these cards, these are action spaces that you can activate on your turn. To activate them, you simply click on the icon on the card. Let's have a look at annexing now. I'm going to annex the Vietnam civilization in order to gain 1 additional worker, so I can get up to the max of 4, and to gain access to the farm ability permanently throughout the game. You can see that slides under this card here, and I can now activate that ability by clicking on this icon. All the gold that was on the card has been added to my gold supply. You can see at the start of the second round too, this board is slid across and we can now activate only these cards on the board. There was a war as soon as this slid along as well, and Let's Start Playing here has now lost all of their workers, as their only remaining worker was killed in the war because they had the least amount of military strength during that war. And that's everything you need to know to get playing with Age of Civilization. This has been Let's Start Playing, and thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like this video. It will support me to keep making more of these. Thanks for watching.